For as long as humans have looked up at the stars, we've looked around at our world and asked this one kind of terrifying question. Is any of this actually real? It's a question that has haunted the greatest minds for millennia, from ancient mystics who were convinced there was a hidden truth to modern physicists who are literally peeling back the layers of the universe.
And that, right there, is the big one we're tackling. Is this world, this life, the universe, is this the bedrock of existence, the final truth? Or is it all just a construct, a beautiful, complex illusion, maybe even a program written by an intelligence so far beyond us we can't even comprehend it? What used to be a late-night dorm room debate is now a serious scientific hypothesis. Now, you might think this is some new, crazy sci-fi idea, but honestly, we've been wrestling with this for centuries. The ancient Hindus called it Maya, this cosmic veil of illusion. Plato gave us his famous allegory of the cave, arguing our world is just shadows projected on a wall. The Gnostics believed our reality was a flawed copy of a perfect divine realm. Really, the only thing that's changed is the terminology. Today, we just call it the simulation.
And the guy who dragged this idea out of philosophy and dropped it squarely into the world of hard logic was Oxford's Nick Bostrom. Back in 2003, he published this paper that, well, it didn't ask you to believe anything. Instead, it just forced you to look at the cold, hard mathematical odds.
Okay, so Bostrom's entire argument hangs on this one single concept: substrate independence. It sounds super complicated, I know, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Consciousness, your thoughts, your feelings, your sense of you, it isn't some kind of magic. It's just an incredibly complex form of information processing. And if that's true, then it doesn't really matter if that processing happens on biological neurons or on silicon chips. Think of it like an app on your phone. The same software can run on an iPhone or an Android, right? The hardware, the substrate, is different, but the code does the exact same thing. So starting from that one idea, he lays out his famous trilemma, and his logic is it's brutal. He argues that one of these three possibilities has to be true. There's no fourth way out. Okay, option one, the tragic end. Basically, every civilization smart enough to create a perfect simulation of their past, well, they destroy themselves before they get the chance. Option two, the bored gods. Civilizations get all that power, but for whatever reason, they're just not interested. They never bother to run the simulations. Or there's door number three. And that leaves us with the third and most staggering possibility, the simulation reality. Because look, if you rule out the first two, if you think that civilizations can survive and that they would be interested in their own history, well then, it's almost a mathematical certainty that they wouldn't create just one simulation. They'd create billions of them. And if there's only one base reality, but billions of simulated ones, what are the odds that you, right now, just happen to be in that one original world? The chances are 1 in billions. Statistically, it's almost zero. So if Bostrom gives us the statistical why we might be in a simulation, MIT computer scientist Rizwan Virk comes along and offers a mechanical how. He looks at our universe not like a physicist, but like a video game developer. And he argues that, you know what? The laws of physics look a heck of a lot like the rules of software. Let's look at the evidence he presents. First up, in any video game, if you zoom in far enough, what do you hit? The pixel, right? It's the fundamental building block. You can't get any smaller. Well, our universe seems to have the same feature. It's called the Planck Length. It's the smallest measurable unit of space. If you go any smaller than that, our laws of physics just stop working. So Virk asks the question, is the Planck length just the resolution of our reality's display? Okay, now think about how a huge online video game works. The system doesn't render the entire world all at once. That would be an impossible amount of processing power. It only renders what you, the player, are actively looking at. Now let's compare that to one of the weirdest rules in quantum mechanics. Particles seem to exist as just a fuzzy cloud of probabilities until a conscious observer looks at them. Then, and only then, do they snap into a definite state. Could this just be the universe's way of saving on processing power, rendering reality only when it's needed? And finally, the big one, the universe's ultimate speed limit, the speed of light. But why? Why should there be a speed limit at all? Well, every single computer has one. It's called the processor's clock speed. It's the absolute limit for how fast information can move through the system. Virk suggests that maybe the speed of light isn't a physical barrier at all. Maybe it's just the refresh rate of our cosmic server. And right here, this is where the theory goes beyond physics, beyond computer science, and into something way, way more profound. Because if we follow this logic, if our reality really is a program, then we are forced to ask a question that literally brings science and theology crashing into each other. Who wrote the code? I mean, think about it. If this is a created reality, then by definition, there has to be a creator. And all of a sudden, this cutting-edge scientific theory starts to sound an awful lot like ancient religion. Seriously, just think about it. For thousands of years, religious texts have described a creator speaking the world into existence. Let there be light. Well, what is programming? At its core, it's the act of creating a reality using a specific language, using command lines. Is it so crazy to think that these might just be two different ways of describing the exact same creative act? So if we run with this new language for a minute, can we start to reframe some of those ancient theological ideas? What's a miracle? Maybe it's just the creator using admin privileges to temporarily edit the source code of physics. What's the soul? Maybe we are all player characters, and our consciousness is just logging in from somewhere outside the simulation to control these avatars. And a concept like karma? Well, that could just be a really sophisticated feedback algorithm built into the game to guide our choices and help us grow. Of course, not everyone is on board with this. We have to be fair and look at the other side of the argument because many brilliant minds find this whole idea not just flawed, but maybe even insulting to the beauty of existence. Skeptics raise some really big points. First, the complexity problem. To accurately simulate our universe, a computer would have to be even bigger and more complex than the universe itself. So where would you even build that? Then you've got the infinite regress problem. Okay, so a programmer created us, but who created the programmer? Are they in a simulation too? Is it just simulations all the way down? And maybe the deepest objection is this sort of emotional uncanny valley. Can you really write code for genuine love, for selfless sacrifice, for that feeling of awe when you look at a sunset? Or are those things uniquely real, maybe even spiritual? Which, of course, brings us right back to the heart of it all. After you weigh the terrifying math and the video game physics and the theological parallels, what are we really left with? Are we just complex lines of code running on some cosmic computer? Or are we spiritual beings having a temporary physical experience? But what if that's a false choice? What if the two ideas aren't opposites? What if they're actually just two different languages trying to describe the exact same incredible thing? Let me try an analogy. You look at a masterpiece painting. On a purely physical level, what is it? It's just canvas and paint, right? It's just molecules. But does that technical description take away from its beauty, its meaning, its power? Of course not. It's still art. So, in the same way, just because our universe might be made of information, of code, that doesn't mean it isn't also divine. And so, maybe in the end, it doesn't really matter if you believe in the Big Bang or a cosmic boot sequence, whether you call the creator God or the system admin. The ultimate takeaway might be that we are not some random accident in a meaningless void. We are part of a grand design, created with unbelievable purpose and complexity. And perhaps that is the very definition of what it means to be real.